Hello everyone, it is Doc Hitchcock and I am back again to do another non-spoiler review of this puzzle, which is the Icebox. Alright, so this is a puzzle that I picked up. It is 3D printed plastic, pretty reasonably priced. It's a sequential discovery puzzle, and I will say that when I first got it, I felt it was a little flimsy. However, it surprised me in a good way, because after I got past the first initial inclination that it's a little too flimsy, it ended up becoming quite a nice journey of sequential discovery, especially for its price point. This actually is a puzzle that comes at you and surprises you, because it at first makes you think, oh, this is just a flimsy puzzle, but then it starts putting pieces to puts moves and such together where it's like, oh wait, actually this is fun. And after all, while we do want the challenge of puzzle solving, and there are some puzzles that can be quite intricate but tedious, and then there's puzzles like this that are not super intricate but are just a pleasure to solve. And you want a little bit of both, right? You don't really want all your puzzles to be super obvious and easy to solve, but you also don't want everything to be super tedious because it's so intricate and everything's so sneaky and hard to find. And so there's a balance that needs to be achieved. And you know, when it comes to something that's a low price point like this, I would say that the person that designed this did a great job, because sometimes you just want a puzzle like this to sit down and just take you on a nice little fun journey and then get you to a satisfying resolution, and that's exactly what this did. Presentation-wise, so you can actually get this in multiple colors, and I chose this kind of icy blue because I felt it was appropriate. It's an icebox, right? So why would you want it in any other color? But that being said, I think there was a white and a black, and I'm sure that the aesthetic is also going to be kind of this translucent-y color. So in essence, I'm sure that it's appropriate depending on what your preferences are. But as far as the presentation is concerned, I will say the print is fine for what it is. It's a block. Some of the fittings, as you can see here, are not immaculate. And there's some part of this where if you don't put it back together exactly the way you found it, it could lead to issues with resetting and solving. And so I wish some parts of this that I won't get into for spoiler purposes, I wish it was marked a little better for the reset. But as far as the initial solve, there was no issues. You know, I would say that for the price, you cannot expect perfection for the sub $100, which is around $60. And I've bought puzzles for 60 bucks or 60 or 70 bucks that were abysmal as far as the print and the actual puzzle itself. So I would say any little imperfections, not even worth even talking about, really. So I don't even know why I am talking about it. I think I am. I think the only reason I talk about it is because I give other puzzles that are higher end such a hard time for little imperfections, but that's because they cost so dang much, where this is so affordable. And I think for the price, it's robust enough where it's gonna hold up. Now I will say there's some initial parts to it that as soon as you take it out, you solve that step, because it's a little bit where some of the pieces move a little bit too easily, I would say. And so maybe you know, the maker could do a little better there, but I would say it doesn't take away from the joy of the puzzle, because frankly, those pieces that move too easily or whatnot actually don't solve anything. They just kind of lead you in the direction, right? And so I would say I'm not gonna ding for that. For the presentation, for what this is, it's supposed to be like an icy thing. I like the fact the filament that he used gives it that kind of icy glow. It doesn't really give much away, which is fine. It's not super intricate. Like, we're not seeing anything other than what looks like ice. And I will say that the way he printed with these little swiggles and wiggles or what's the word? Little squiggly lines, I guess, squiggles. I will say that makes it look more like ice. Functionality, it functions for the most part as intended. There was nothing that was wonky. It's just that one part for the reset. So I'd say I'm gonna ding it a little bit for that, just so that everybody looks out for that. If you solve this and you need to reset it, is that you could get it stuck a little bit if you don't set it just like you got it when you solved it. The difficulty, it's not very difficult. I will say no, it's not very difficult. I'm gonna have to say this is probably around 2 or 3 out of 10. It's not very difficult, but that is part of why I loved it. Is again, this is just something to take you for a ride. It leads you as it needs to. It's pretty obvious. There's one part that's a little tricky, but it's not an overly difficult. It's a pretty easy puzzle. But that leads us to the satisfaction part. It left me, I'm gonna say it's a 10 out of 10. I was very satisfied with this puzzle. It's a 10 out of 10 for me because the maker knew how to tell the puzzle story, as far as like, not a literal story, but it led you from place to place. And then the final kind of component of it leaves you with a kind of satiation by the reward that it gives you at the end. So there's a resolution that is super appropriate for the puzzle, but it was, at least for me, very unexpected and super satisfying. So 10 out of 10, I was so satisfied with this puzzle. The low price point, the joy of the solution, and then the satisfaction at the end. I would buy this. I actually am thinking about buying more copies of this just to give to my friends and family, because it is so affordable and so fun to solve, and I don't want to give this to anyone. I want to keep it for myself and solve it again, because it's one of those puzzles, when the puzzle's easy to reset, once you know how to reset it, and it's relatively easy to solve, and it's got satisfaction to it. You want to solve it a few times and you want to set it aside and then solve it again later. And so I'll probably buy more of these as long as they're available and give them away as gifts, because this, my friends, was definitely worth the price. 10 out of 10 for that. So although, you got to lower some of it for some functionality with the reset, which is not a big deal in my opinion. Presentation is run of the mill, but it's still fun because it's an ice block. How much presentation are you supposed to have with an ice block, I guess? But the ride, the joy of solve, the satisfaction, well worth the price. I would say if you can get your hands on this, absolutely do it. Absolutely. I'll put the link to where I got it in the description below. And so there you go. Also remember, if you are a puzzler, you'll know that science is actually puzzles. And so if you feel so inclined, go out and grab a copy of my new book, which is Rebooting the Biome. It's not about puzzles, but it's about puzzles in science, and specifically the science of holobiology. This one is written by myself and my colleague, Dr. Doris Day, who's a celebrity dermatologist up in New York City. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on this if you can give it a read. All right, until next time, I will talk to you later. Goodbye for now.